Okay, Bez Hashem, we're going to continue today in the we're going to be continuing today in the Masachet Sanhedrin, and we are holding on Daf Nun Vav Omer Aleph. We're right up to the Gemara. We finished the Mishnah last time we learned. Just to sum up the Mishnah told us that if a person curses Hashem, he has to use the actual Hashem's name. And we said, according to the Rambam, that was either Aleph Daled Nun Yud or Yud Kei Vav Kei. If a person curses that name, he's Chayav Mita of Skila. And the Mishnah told us the procedure of the court. Because obviously you don't want the Edom, the witnesses, to keep repeating the curse. So we're going to read in the Rambam for a moment. We're going to read in the Rambam how he brings down what needs to be done. Yaki Yosi is Yosi. Every day when they're going through the process until they figure out what happened, they use kinuyim. They use a nickname instead of saying the name that they actually cursed. They will use something in place of that. A kinuyim such as Yaki Yosi is Yosi. That Yosi cursed Yosi or hurt Yosi. Nigmar Hadin. Once they finish the case and they realize this man is guilty, Motzin is called Adam Machutz. They take everybody out of the court. Then they tell this oldest of the witnesses, tell us what exactly you heard. He says what he heard. And the Dayanim who hear this, they rip kriyam and they don't stitch up that rip. And he also says, secondly, he says, I also heard like the first one said. And if there were many more witnesses there, each one, instead of saying what he heard, rather would say that when the first guy said, that's exactly as I heard it. And that was the Mishnah, and that's the way the Rambam Paskins Halachos. Now, the Gemara starts off, we saw this last week, but just to recap, the Gemara says, when is this? When is the qualification? When do we say someone is chayev kila for being a megadef? Tana ad shivarech shame b'shame. It has to be that he curses Hashem with Hashem's name. He curses Hashem with Hashem's name. We're going to see the source for this, but that is the halacha. So it says over here, the Rambam. Let's look at the Rambam for a moment. Ein megadev chayiv skilom ad shivarish es Hashem hameyuchad shel arba otiot. It has to be until he's only chayav skila if he curses the 4-letter name of Hashem. And what's the 4-letter name? Shu Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. It's Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. Vayvarach oto b'shem min hashemot she'elim hakim. But in order to curse that name, he has to use one of the 7 names of Hashem that is not allowed to be erased. Okay? So you have to, it's basically saying Hashem, curse Hashem. But you could put, for the first part, they're saying that this name should curse the other name. The first part could be one of the 7 names that you're not allowed to erase. That's the one that you're saying should do the cursing. And the one who's getting cursed has to be either Aleph Daled Nun Yud or Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's the way the Rambam understands this. Shenemar, B'noikav Shem Hashem, Al Hashem Amiuchad Chayiv Skil V'Ashar Kiyunim B'Azhara. If you curse Aleph Daled Nun Yud or Yud Kei Vav Kei, then you get skila. But if you curse one of the other names, then you don't get skila, you get karet. There are some who say, no, not for Aleph Daled Nun Yud, only for Yud Kei Vav Kei. Then you get skila. Bani Omer, and says the Rambam, but I say, Shal Shnei Muniskal. He gets skila for both. Either he curses Aleph Daled Nun Yud or Yud Kei Vav Kei. As Arashim Agadev, and the warning in the Torah, we'll see in a moment in the Gemara, but Rambam also writes that Shnemar Elokim Lo Tikalel. Do not curse Hashem. So interesting. So a couple of things from the Rambam. All right, this is halakha l'maisa, right? So the Rambam says first, the name of Hashem that you use to curse Hashem's name can be one of the 7 names that are not allowed to be erased. So before we move on, we have to know what are these 7 names that are not allowed to be erased. So you're going to pull up another Rambam. The Rambam says, "Asur limchayk." It's you're not allowed to erase. Afilu ot echat mishiva shemot. Even one letter of these 7 names. So this is, by the way, where we have the whole thing of shemus, of gniza, of burying something, not throwing it out, right? Because you're not allowed to erase one of these 7 names, even a letter. You're not allowed to erase them. Not only the name, and not even the letters that come after their name, right? Sometimes there's Hashem's name, and then there's a suffix at the end of the name. Kegarin chaf, elokecha, and chem, she'elokechem, right? So even those letters that come after the chaf mem, they're also not allowed to be erased. That's what the Rambam says. So picks up on this the Shach. The Shach says, but the letters before Hashem's name, going Lamed, or Beis, or the Hey, right? Le'elokim, Ba'elokim, Mutter Limchai. That you're allowed to erase. There's no Isser. You shouldn't erase it, but there's no Isser of erasing it, like the name of Hashem and the suffix that comes after it. So that's an interesting deal of the Shach, right? Okay, so this continues the Rambam. And these are the 7 names that you're not allowed to erase. Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay, so Yud Kei Vav Kei is one of those that you're not allowed to erase. B'Shem Adnus, right? Alf Dal Nun Yud, you're not allowed to erase. Bekel, Elokim, Eloka, Elokei, all the derivations. Shakai, Tzevakot. And some say, where it says in the pasuk, where Hashem says, "My name is what I shall be," is also one of the 7 names that you're not allowed to erase. The person, if you erase any of Hashem's name, like him in a Torah, you get Malchus. Because it says by the Zara, you should erase them names. Lo tasu kain l'Hashem l'keichem, but you're not allowed to do that to Hashem. So therefore, you're allowed to erase avodah zarah names, but not Hashem's name. Okay, so now you have your 7 names that you're not allowed to erase, and those are the 7 names that you can use to curse the Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, or the Yud Kei Vav Kei, according to the Rambam. Now, interesting. It's possible that the Rambam understands that there's a pasuk that says, "This is my name." And this is my name the way you say it, right? So it means is that Yud Kei Vav Kei and Aleph Dalet Nun Yud are both actually Hashem's name. It's just one is spelled Yud Kei Vav Kei and it's pronounced Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, right? Only in the base of English they pronounced it Yud Kei Vav Kei, the actual pronunciation. But otherwise, Hashem instructed us to read Yud Kei Vav Kei as Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. So therefore, the Rambam might hold because of that. That's why he equates Yud Kei Vav Kei with Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, and if a person Chas Shalom curse either of those names with one of the 7 names that you're not allowed to erase, is Chayev Skila as a Megadef. Okay, that is the halachic rules of a Megadef. And now the Gemara is going to continue to understand where did we get this, that it has to be cursing Hashem with Hashem's name in order to be Chayav Mitah for Skila. So Manan Emili. Where did you get this from? So Amar Shmuel the Amar Kra, because it says in the pasuk, if you take a look at the Hebrew side on the right margin, Torah Shalom, it gives you the full pasuk. It says over there, right? It's Amar Shmuel, Amar Kra says the pasuk. Let's read the whole pasuk. V'noikiv Shem Hashem, person that curses Hashem, was Yumas, he should be killed. Ragom Yergemubo, throw stones on him. Kol Ha'edo, all the nation. Kegir Ezrach, like the convert and the citizen. V'nokvo Shem Yumat, when they curse the name, they die. So it says it twice with no kev shame that they curse the name. So therefore, from there we learn you have to say Hashem's name twice. Hashem should curse Hashem, but no kev shame, that it has to be the name twice. That it has to be that you curse Hashem's name with Hashem's name. From that's the pasuk, that is the source. That's what the Gemara says. So now the Gemara has a question. You're telling me that no cave means to curse. How do you know that? If a person would come to you and say, Avram, Solomon, tell me what's the shoresh of the word no cave? What's the root of the word no cave? Right? If someone would ask me, I would think No cave. I say every day, Asher Yotzer, I say Nikovim, right? Nekev, Nekeva. What's that Lashon come from? Nikavim Nikavim means holes, right? It means maybe making a hole in Hashem's name, maybe puncturing it, creating a hole. Maybe that's the Isser. No cave, Shem Hashem. A person punctured Hashem's name. Let's take a look at the Gemara. The Gemara is going to say this. Why are you saying no cave is a lashon of blessing, meaning euphemism for cursing? Because it says by Bilam ma ekov lo kabo el. Bilam says, how can I curse Israel? Hashem didn't curse them. And the warning not to curse is Elokim lo tikalel. You shall not curse God. The aim of it maybe no. Maybe that's not what it means. Maybe no cave doesn't mean curse. The ema mivrazhu. Maybe it means piercing, right? Maybe it means creating a hole. That's aser. As it says in Malachim, when they created a box for collecting money for the base of Mikdash, it says Vayikov chor b'dalto, Vayikov, and they bored a hole in its lid. And so you see, maybe it means you're not allowed to make a hole in Hashem's name. And we have a pasuk that says, "V'ibatem et shemam," you can destroy the names of the Zara. Lo tasu kein l'Hashem l'keichem, but don't do the same thing to Hashem's name. So maybe that's the issue when it says no kev shem Hashem. Don't do no kev. Maybe no kev means don't make a hole. Mara says, hold on, you can't say this. Be'ino shem b'shem v'leikom. Because you said, hold on, you said that pasuk with no kev shem. It says no kev shem twice. And we said because it says no kev shem, it means you have to curse Hashem's name with Hashem's name. How are you going to do that by puncturing? How are you want to puncture with Hashem's name? How do you do that? So the Gemara says, perhaps you took two of Hashem's names and you put them on top of each other, and then you pierced both of the names. So one name is now going into the other name of Hashem. Maybe that's the way it is. The Gemara says, that's not puncturing Hashem's name with Hashem's name. Who nokev, it's puncturing one of Hashem's name and then puncturing another one of Hashem's names. That's not puncturing Hashem's name with Hashem's name. So the Gemara says, the emo, the chayik shem afuma distakino uvazabo. Perhaps this is like a Kabbalistic sword. He went in the head and he engraved Hashem's name on the sword. And now he punctures Hashem's name with a sword that has an engravement of Hashem's name. And maybe that's what it means, puncturing Hashem's name with Hashem's name. And that's the Yisr. Gemara says, Ahu churfa the sakina hu dekal baza. No, that's not Hashem's name puncturing Hashem's name. It's the sharpness of the sword. The sharpness is not in the engraved part of the name. The sharpness is on the edges of the sword. That's what's doing the puncturing. So it's not Hashem's name that's puncturing Hashem's name. So obviously, it cannot be, no cave cannot come from the lashon of creating a hole. So what could it be? It must be cursing. Or Ema Parusha Shemehu. Maybe the word no cave means just the fact that a person said Yud Kei Vav Kei. He pronounced the name of Hashem. There are unfortunately some people today don't know how to read or don't know the rules of reading, or they do it on purpose. They think that they're better than everyone else and they're going to read Yud Kei Vav Kei the way it should be read, like it was read in the Beit HaMikdash. Chas v'shalom, chas v'lila. And maybe that's the Isser of Megade. Ema Parusha Shemehu. Maybe it means someone who says the actual name. He said Yud Kei Vav Kei. How do you know saying the name is something to do with no cave? Because it says Yikach Moshe v'Aaron ha'anoshim ha'ela asher nikivu b'shemot, the ones who were specified by their name. V'hazarta ma'acha, and the warning for such a thing would be of not saying Hashem's name the way it's written, because it says et Hashem Elokecha tira. You have to be fearful of Hashem. So it tells you can't say that. So maybe that's what it means in okay from nikivu b'shemot, that you specify the names. Gemara says this idea also will not work. Why not? Chada, first of all, divi'ina shem b'shem. First of all, you need, like we already said, but no kev shem. It says no kev shem twice, so you need to curse Hashem's name with Hashem's name. It's not just saying Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yeah, that's an isser to say that, but it's not the case of Megadev. The Leika, you don't have a name with a name, cursing the name of Hashem with Hashem's name. But second of all, you're warning that you're bringing et Hashem Elokecha tira, is not a good wording. Why? It is a warning that is a positive commandment. Fear Hashem, right? Only a negative commandment can be a warning, not a positive commandment. A positive commandment is not a warning. A warning is don't do this. Okay? This doesn't say don't do this. It's et Hashem l'kechatira. Fear Hashem. It's a do. This is something you do. Therefore, since it's an asay, it cannot be considered a warning. So that cannot be what a megadif is. So the Gemara says, "V'ibayit ema." We have a cloud, and the time it says "V'ibayit ema," that means this is probably a better answer. All right, more proof. Amar krok. The pasuk says, by the case of the megadif himself. In the Torah, we have a guy who curses Hashem, and in that pasuk, if you want to take a look in the Torah or Hashalom, it gives you the full pasuk in Ches. Okay, Vayikov ben ha'isha Yisraelit et Hashem, and he was Yikov, right? The man of a Jewish woman. He was Yikov es Hashem. Vayikalel, and he cursed. Vayiviu to Moshe v'Shem imo Shlomit bat Divri l'matedan. Shematedan Shlomit bat Divri. Okay, and her son cursed Hashem. Vayikov and Vayikalel. It says both. Amakra, Vayikov, Vayikalel. Why is it saying it both? To tell us the memra, the nokev kalahu. To tell us the Vayikov is a curse. Where it says what? No. Maybe Vayikov is one thing he did, and Vayikalel is another thing he did. He Vayikov, maybe he said Hashem's name, Yudkev, okay, as it's pronounced, and then Vayikalel, and then he cursed Hashem. Maybe he did two things, and maybe you need to do two things in order to get a skila. Where it says Loisaki, don't think that way, because it says when the next pasuk says Hotzeh to Mekalel, and this is pasuk tet in the Torah Shalom. Hotzeh to Mekalel, so it says Hotzeh to Mekalel, he took out the one who cursed. But locative, it doesn't say Hotzeh et hanokev v'Mekalel. Take out the one who no caved and cursed. No, it doesn't say that. It just says Vayikalel. To tell us that yes, the nokev and Vayikalel are the same, and therefore Vayikov and nokev and Vayikalel are all the same thing, and therefore it's a person cursing Hashem with Hashem's name. Then that is the case of a megadif, someone who curses Hashem, that is chayav kila. Okay, that was topic number 1. Now, let's move on into our second topic, and then we will start soon the sugya. We'll start it today, but Hashem will continue, I think, for the next 2-3 weeks. We're going to be going into the topic of Shiv'at mitzvot b'nei Noach, the 7 mitzvot that all of humanity have. They call b'nei Noach because today everyone comes from Noach. That's why it's called b'nei Noach. Now, just a little bit of a philosophical background on this. If you think about it, all the major religions in the world have a premise that Judaism does not have. What is that understanding? All the religions of the world say that if you don't follow our religion, there is no way for you to get into heaven. Okay? Christianity, Islam, and therefore they feel the biggest favor they can do for you is to convert you, because otherwise you have no way into heaven, and they want to give you salvation. They want to give you the opportunity to go to heaven, so they force you, right? The Islamics would kill by the sword, the Christians and their crusades, Christian and their missionary work, right? Because they're saving you, they're giving you salvation. Otherwise, you don't go into heaven. Right? That's the way of the religions of the world, aside from Judaism. Right? In Judaism, we don't say that. We say there's Jews and there's Goyim, and the Goyim can also get into heaven. They just have to do the 7 mitzvot of Noah. There's like 7 mitzvot that they have, and they do the 7 mitzvot, and we'll see what they are today. And they have a ticket into heaven. We don't try to be Geir anymore. We don't want Geir. Hashem chose us to be the light unto the nations. We have our 613, and we have our mitzvahs that we have to follow. And the rest of the world, if they follow these 7, they're good to go. and they can get into heaven just as much as a Jew can get into heaven. So this is a big distinction, just to come out. So now let's see some of the dinim. We're gonna see how it relates to Megadeh, and then we're gonna go into more generally the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. So let's start first of all about someone who curses. Tana Rabbanon, Ish. Matamid Ish Ish. Okay, so take a look at Torah or Shalom. This is the pasuk that we're dealing with. This is right after we kill the guy in the midbar who cursed Hashem. So then it says, El Bnei Yisrael to the Bnei tell the Jewish people, Ish Ish, man. Ki kalel Elohav and Asach a person who curses Hashem, he carries his sin. So Gemara is wondering, Matamid Lamer Ish Ish. Why is it saying Ish Ish, man? What else are you including here? Men or men? What are you saying? Human. What are you saying it twice for? It's to include goyim. Shemuzharin al birkat Hashem ki Yisrael. To teach that they are warned against cursing Hashem's name, just like a Jew. The only difference is Eila B'Saya. The goyim, whenever they're to be executed, almost not all the times. We'll see the Rambam says a few exceptions. But 99% of the time, if they're Hayav Mitah, a guy's Hayav Mitah, they're killed via sword. Okay. Similarly, we already spoke earlier about the kings when they had permission to kill someone. It was only the government only had permission to kill with the sword. Right. Apparently, the sword is the one that you have more killings with, and it's beheading, like we already spoke about. They now are beside. So a guy, if he curses Hashem, he's killed with the sword. Jakol Mita. Any death that's mentioned by a Bnei Noach is with a sword. Okay? Fine. Gemara says, whoa, you're learning it from here when it says ish ish. We learn it from a pasuk in Bereshit. There's going to be a pasuk. Take a look at the article, note 32. He brings the pasuk. It's also Torah or Shalom pasuk Chaf, right? The last one over there, and it's basically Hashem telling Marisha by Tzav Hashem Elokim Ala Adam Leimar Mikol Eitz Hagan Ochol Telchel. You can eat everything in the Garden of Eden, and this pasuk is an extra pasuk. Come and learn from this pasuk many drashot. In fact, the Sheva Mitzvah Bnei Noach comes from this pasuk somewhat. So there's in that pasuk the name Hashem. The drasha is, the teaching is that you can't curse Hashem's name. So whoa, do I need this pasuk ish ish, or am I using the name Hashem from that pasuk in Bereshit? It's a kinuyin. The verse, this pasuk, that tells us you should not bless Hashem's name, you should not curse Hashem's name, is to tell us not to even use the other names of Hashem. Let's say the 7 names that you can't erase, according to some, even other names, Chanun, Berachum, merciful, compassionate. Maybe you can't curse those either. Maybe that's why the extra pasuk is. Va'ali de Remeir, and Ritzak Nafka is learning the Remeir. The Tanya Remeir said, Ish ki kalelu kavana sachet. Oh, a man who curses Hashem, he carries his sin. Mal Tamilemer. Why is it teaching us? So the Quran never doesn't already say no Hashem was you must. Didn't already say person who curses Hashem dies. So what are you saying again? If you curse Hashem, you die. We should never know Hashem was you must, because it said if you curse Hashem's name, meaning Yud Kei Vav Kei. Only chayiv if you curse Yud Kei Vav Kei. And 9, the rabbis call it kinuyin. How do I know to include if a person Chas Hashem curses any of the other names? So Talmud Leimer, it says ish ki kalel elokav, person who curses Hashem. From here we know mikoma goyim. Anyone. Divrei Rabbi Meir. This is what Rabbi Meir says by a Jew. So you have 2 psukim, and it teaches us if you curse Hashem's name, you keep okay, or you curse any of Hashem's name, it's aser, and the Jew is killed as a megadeh for either of these. Right? We don't hold like Rabbi Meir, but that's what Rabbi Meir holds. And he says, and Rabbi Bar Nafcha says that's why we need That's why we need this 2 psukim, ish ish, and you need that pasuk in Bereshit to tell us the same thing as by a guy. The guy curses Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, or he curses any of the other names of Hashem, he is killed with the sword. So just like Rabbi Meir holds by a Jew, Ritzak Nafka holds, Rabbi Meir will also agree that it is by a guy just with the sword and not skila. No, al Shem Yuchad b'mita When it comes to the name of Hashem, comes the name of Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, yes, that's Mita. But for other names, it's only Karet, and it's not Mita Beskila. Okay. The Gemara now says, Uplider Masha. And Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, who says that a guy who curses the other name, the machlokus of Rameir and the Rabban, right? He said that's what we just learned. Rameir says a guy would be you have to kill him just like you kill a Jew who curses one of the other names of Hashem. The Chama says no, only Yud Kei Vav Kei and not the other ones. The Jew and the guy alike, only Yud Kei Vav Kei. Pliga Rashi. Rashi holds a little different. Ben Noach Shebirchas Hashem B'Kinuyim. If a guy curses Hashem's name, even one of the other names, L'Rabbanan, according to the rabbis, Chayav. He would be Chayav Mita. According to Miasha, even the Rabbanan, right? Even the Rabbanan would hold a guy who curses any of Hashem's names would be Chayav Mita. Maitan, what's the reason? The Amar Krah, because it says in the Pasuk, Keger Ke'ezra. Like the convert and the citizen. Ger ve'ezra chud to be inon benakvo shame. It's a ger and an ezrach, a convert or a citizen, that requires the condition that he curses Hashem's name with Hashem's name. But a guy, even if he just curses Hashem's name with a with one of the other names, not the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Right? Ger ve'ezrach chud b'shem Hashem. Only Ger ve'ezrach, I messed it up a little bit. Ger ve'ezrach, a citizen and a convert needs to actually curse Yud Kei Vav Kei or Aleph Dal Nun Yud. But a guy, even with the kinoi, because it doesn't say the word Ger ve'ezrach. It says Ger ve'ezrach only by that pasuk that says you have to use Hashem's name, benakvo shame, which means Yud Kei Vav Kei. It says citizen or a convert. It doesn't say a guy. Therefore, a guy we chayav mita, even if he cursed Hashem's name, that's not Yud Kei Vav Kei or Aleph Dal Nun Yud. The Rebbe Meir, now, if you're saying that's the way to learn, Rebbe Meir. Rebbe Meir, Ger ke'ezrach my ovad lo. What did you do with the word Ger ve'ezrach? Because Rebbe Meir said that the Jew and the guy have the same din. No matter if he curses Hashem's name, you keep okay. No matter if he curses one of the other Hashem's names, he always gets mita, and he learned it by a Jew, and he learned it by a guy from Sukkah, but he learned it for both. So what did he do with the pasuk Ger ve'ezrach? What did he do with the word Ger ve'ezrach? Ger ke'ezrach my ovad lo. What's the difference between a guy and a Jew? Where it says, you're right, Ger ve'ezrach, a convert and a citizen of Israel, if they curse Hashem's name according to Rebbe Meir, whether Hashem's Yud Kei Vav Kei or any other name, they get skila. But the guy would get the sword. Maybe you would say, since the Goyim were included with the Jews in the same exact debts, they get the same qualifications to get killed. Maybe I would think you would kill them with skila, kamashalan. Therefore, says Ger Ke'ezrach to tell us that no, Jews get Goyim get beheaded by a sword. Aritzak Nafcha, Alima the Rabbanan. Now Aritzak Nafcha, who learns like they're in the Rabbanan's opinion, right? According to Aritzak Nafcha, he held the Rabbanan held that a guy who curses one of the other names does not get Misa. So what do they do with this word Ger Ke'ezrach? Ma ha Ger Ke'ezrach my overlay. Ger ve'ezrach hu t'be'inyon shem b'shem. Right? It's a citizen or a convert that requires to curse Hashem with Hashem's name. Then they get mita. But over kechavim lo inon shem b'shem. As long as they curse Yud Kei Vav Kei, they don't need to use one of Hashem's other name to be chayav mita. To say one of Hashem's name curses Yud Kei Vav Kei. They don't need that. As long as they curse actually Hashem's name, then they're chayav mita. Okay. So now, ish lamali. So why, according to this opinion, why do they need the word ish? What is it trying to tell me? Because you're saying that the Goyim, according to Meir, the Goy and the Jew has the same halachot in the end. So why do you need the word ish lamali? It's just to tell us this is the way sometimes the Torah talks. You're not learning anything from it, right? So the Chachamim would just say ish is just an expression. You're not learning anything from it. Or Meir learned that you learned that a guy is just like a Jew by this. But the Chachamim who don't learn that, so there are differences. So ish is just a way. Dibur Torah Koloshim B'nei Adam. So it comes out there's really three shitot by a guy and a guy versus a Jew when it comes to cursing Hashem. So according to Meir, guy and a Jew, same halachot. Straight up. If a guy cursed one of Hashem's names, whether it's actually Kivavke or one of the other names, they both killed. Difference is one's with stoning, one's with skila. Okay? That was Rabbi Meir. According to the Rabbanon, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says the Rabbanon say no. You only kill if you use Hashem's name. But if you didn't curse Yud Kei Vav Kei Alf Dal Nun Yud, then you don't get killed. What's the difference between a guy and a Jew? The difference between a guy and a Jew is that a Jew needs to say one of Hashem's names curses one of the other of Hashem's names to be chayav mitah. A guy, as long as he just curses Yud Kei Vav Kei or Alf Dal Nun Yud, he gets killed by the sword. Whereas Rav Yasha says doesn't make a difference. If a guy curses any one of them, one of the other names, not even Al Daf Nun Yud Kei Vav Kei, one of the other names, he also is chayav mitah. And what do we hold? Lahalacha lemaseh. So let's read over here from the Rambam. The Rambam says, Ben Noach Shibirach Es Hashem, Ben Shibirach B'Shem Yuchad, Ben Shibirach B'Kinoi. Whether he curses Hashem with Yud Kei Vav Kei Alf Dal Nun Yud, or he curses Hashem with any of the other names, the Chol Lashon, even in any other language, chayav, he's going to be chayav. Masha Ein Kain Be'Yisrael, which is not true by a Jew. So it seems the Rambam seems to be saying that by a guy, even in a different language, if he curses Hashem's name, so he says God or Gut or Bog, right? So then he curses that name, he'd be chayav mitah, chayav sayef, right? So he's learning like Rav Yasha, right? Like Rav Yasha, who says that even the Rabbanon would say that a Ben Noach, no matter if he curses Hashem's name, any of the names, he'd be chayav mitah. That's the way the Rambam seems to be paskening. Let me just see something here. Kuf Samach Zion. Trying to see what he brings from the Rambam. I say just the Rambam. Okay. Just wondering. So if a Jew, so from what we're saying over here, if a Jew curses the name God in English, right? That's what it seems to be coming out. He's not chayav mitah as a megadeh, right? Because the only time you're chayav mitah for megadeh is if you use one of Hashem's 7 names that can't be erased to curse the Alf Dal Nun Yud or Yud Kei Vav Kei, then you rechayim as a megadeh. But a guy would get sayif, would get the sword for cursing Hashem's name, or even a one of Hashem's other names, the kinuyim, or even in any language, he curses Hashem's name. He'll be chayav mitah b'sayif. Okay, that's the Rambam. All right, now
one question.
Yeah.
Do they give the privilege of 2 witnesses to be present to give them the warning, or it doesn't apply to Gentiles?
Okay, very good. So let's actually read the next Rambam. Okay, very good. The next Rambam. Next Rambam brings it in. And says, Ben Noach, over al achat mesheva mitzvos elu, yahari b'sai. If a Ben Noach goes, who transgresses any of the 7 mitzvot, you kill him with the sword. V'naharag, and you kill him, v'eid echad, even with 1 witness. Uvdain echad, and just 1 judge. Below hasra, no warning needed. But al pi kroivin, and even if his relative, even if his brother said that he did that sin. Avalo be'edut isha, however, a lady's testimony would not be accepted. Below tidun isha lahem, and it should not be a lady being a judge. Okay, so that's the Rambam. That's your question, right? So according to the Rambam, you do not need to give a guy. That's halacha l'maisa. You do not have to give a guy a warning at all, as long as someone comes and says he did the severa and 1 guy to 1 judge, and even if the guy is the relative, you can go ahead and kill him with the sword for that case. Okay, these are privileges for Jews that you need a warning, you need to aid them, and all that. That's only for Jews, and for a Goyim, the dinim are different. Okay, is that an answer, Tzalon?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to go into the dinim of the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach. The 7 mitzvahs of b'nei Noach. We're going to list them and explain them. So I think just because we're doing so much Rambam today, let's do another Rambam on the 7 mitzvahs of Bnei Noach. So I'm going to read the Rambam to you. Shisha Dvarim Nitzava Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon was commanded 6 things. Rishon had 6. What are the 6 things? Avodah Zarah, Birkat Hashem, and cursing Hashem's name, Val Shvichos Damim, and murder, Val Gilui Arayos, and improper relationships, Val Hagezel, and stealing, Val Hadinim, and creating courts. Alpha Pishakul and Henka Balabayadanim and Moshe Rabbeinu, even though all these are from we have it as a Masorah teaching from Moshe Rabbeinu, Vahadat no telahen, Miklal Divrei Torah Yira Sha'al Elu Nitztava. It makes sense from the Torah that they are commanded. Now, Hosef Lenoach Avram and Achai, and they added to Noach the mitzvah of Avram and Achai of not eating a limb from a live animal. Shinemar Achbas Benavsho Dama Lo Tochelu. Nimtza Sheva mitzvot. So here you have the 7 mitzvahs. Okay, this is the way the Rambam is learning the 7 mitzvahs. Okay, now let's take a look at the Gemara, its sources, its conclusions. So let's start. Tana Rabbana. Sheva mitzvot nitztavu b'nei Noach. B'nei Noach have 7 mitzvot. Dinan, to make civil law, says the Art Scroll. The Art Scroll here brings you famous machlokes Rambam and Ramban. Okay, so the Rambam says, why do you need these courts? You need these courts to make sure they're keeping the other 6 mitzvot. Okay, that they're holding, everyone's holding. That's why you need the courts. That's the Rambam Sita. The Ramban, Nachmanides, has a different opinion. He says, yes, they have to also make sure everyone's doing the other 6 mitzvahs, but that's not the only reason why you need courts. You need to create a society. And society requires laws, all types of laws. Theft, fraud, wages, damages, bodily injury, loans, sales, commercial dealings. Therefore, the halacha, the mitzvah of Shem Mitzvah Bnei Noach is not just to create a court to make sure the other 6 mitzvahs are being followed, but rather to actually create laws for society to be functional. Okay, society to be functional, and that's a big yesod in the Ramban, because that means that there is, if a society creates laws, it's somewhat based on the Torah. The Torah is giving them permission for the Goyim to create a society with laws that are just. Maybe that's why sometimes the Gemara says Din in the Malchut Adinu, right? The government's laws are laws, obviously, if they don't go against the Torah. But there is such a yesod from the Ramban. Yes, Solomon.
Am I understanding correctly that the Torah does not specifically says the court system is a requirement?
Say again?
Does the Torah does not specifically state that the court system is not a requirement? Like it doesn't specify that it must have a system? It's like an addition by the Rambam?
No. We're going to see that the Torah, one of the mitzvos that the Shevetz Bnei Noach got, is to have a court system. Even the Rambam agrees. Even the Ramban agrees. That everyone says is from the Torah. The question is, how far-reaching is that court system? Rambam says the court system is just to make sure they're doing the other 6 mitzvot. Right? One of the 7 mitzvot is to create courts. According to the Ramban, Rahmanides, no, it's not just to make sure the other 6 mitzvot are being followed. Rather, it's to create a functional society with laws. That's how far it goes. But everyone agrees that creating courts is a mitzvah, one of the mitzvahs Bnei Noach from the Torah to the Noach people, to the Goyim. Okay, so that's on Dinin. Then you have Uvirkat Hashem, cursing Hashem's name, or Dezara, Gilui Arayos, Shvichut Damim, murder, Gezel, stealing, Ever Minachai, and eating a limb from a live animal. Before we move on, somebody asks, eating a limb from a live animal, who would do such a thing? It's terrible. Why would you even need such a mitzvah? No one would do it. So I heard from Rabbi Rosner a very interesting idea. He said, no, on the opposite, everybody would do it. Why would they do it? He said, just because you have to remember, back in the olden days, there's no refrigeration. There's no way to preserve meat, right? If you shechted an animal, you have to eat it within a certain amount of time. If not, the meat gets spoiled. There's no way to use it. But don't kill the animal. You just chop off his limb, right? And you eat it. The rest of it, no, see, the animal's still in torture, but the rest of his body is still alive. so the meat's not going to spoil. And then when you're ready for the next, you take the next limb, and you take the next limb. So for preservation of fresh meat, it actually was something that made sense, and that was the issur that you're not allowed to do that. Okay. Let's just continue on some of the mitzvot. We're going to have some Tanoim and Braitot that tell us a little more mitzvos that Noahites have. They're also not allowed to eat blood of the live animal. They're not allowed to perform sterilization. They're not allowed to cause themselves, humans or animals, to become sterile. They're not allowed to do magic. Everything that it says in the pasuk in the parsha of magic, a guy is not allowed to do. He's warned about them. Where do we know? It says the pasuk says your son and daughter should not be found passing through the molech, through the fires, but Aish, right, and through those fires. You're not allowed to serve molech, right? This is a pasuk in Devarim that tells the Jews you're going into Eretz Canaan to take over, and the reason why you're going to be able to take over is because these Goyim did these things. Therefore, you don't do these things because I'm kicking them out because of this, says Hashem. What are some of the other things that they did? Kosim Kisamim. Kosim Kisamim is someone who used pickup sticks to tell you the fortune in the future. Right? He divines the future using sticks. And he tells you how to do a certain thing based on his divination of sticks. Ma'onain, says the art scroll, is either an illusionist or someone who predicts the right time for embarking on a venture. Tells you when to start your trip, when to do this, when to do this. Umenachesh, and a menachesh, this is someone who uses omens that he sees, the black cat, the black cat, the broken mirror, the 13th floor, I don't know, whatever these superstitions, and he bases it on this. That's also magic that's completely usher. Someone who's a sorcerer, who makes magic. The chover chaver, someone who uses charms to conjure up animals and insects. The shoel ov, shoel ov is someone who causes a dead spirit, to come into his armpit and he talks to him. All right. Shoel yedoni is someone who takes an animal bone, puts it into his mouth, and has the spirits talk to him through it. Also, completely usher. Vidorish alametim. This is someone who the Ratschkel explains it as someone who goes and he fasts and sleeps in the cemetery, hoping to be able to speak to the dead. Also is a Torah, and it is considered magic. And the pasuk says of because of these abominations, Hashem will force out the Canaanim because of all these things that they did. The law anash elim kain hizin. Hashem will be able to punish them unless they know that these were usher. So therefore, these are usher for Goyim, and that's how Hashem was able to punish them and send them out, and the Jews were able to come in. The Azarimer, Alp ala kilayim, also on kilayim, right? Playing God and making new mixtures. Mutarin, b'nei noach lubosh kilayim, a guy's allowed to wear shatnez. That's not the problem. V'lizroa kilayim, and a lot of plant kilayim also, mix seeds. What are they not allowed to do? The ein asurin ela b'harbat behema uv'har kavad ha'ilan. They're not allowed to cause the mating of different animal species with each other, right? Like to make a mule, you need to mate a donkey with a horse, then you get a mule, right? That is also even for a guy to do. And also the grafting of a tree, right? Which is you take a tree, make a hole in the tree, you take a branch from a different tree, and you graft it onto it, and now the tree and the branch start to mix, and it creates a different fruit. That is also usher for a guy to do. Now, we're almost done for today. Menahani Mili. Where are these things known from? Where do you know these Sheva Mitzvot Noach? Where do you have them? We have a pasuk. The pasuk is extra because Hashem already told Adam Rishon what he could eat, what he can't eat. And then it comes and it says, Vayitzav Hashem Elokim ala Adam lemor mikol etzagan achol tochel. So this pasuk is completely extra. This whole pasuk is for a drasha. What is the drasha? When it says Vayitzav Elu Hadinin, this means to create court, civil law. As it says that Hashem knows by Avram Avinu, that he commanded his children. If you read the further the pasuk, you can see it in note 10 in the art scroll. Who go to make tzedakah mishpat, they go to make righteousness and judgments. So therefore, we see the word vaitzav means to make a civil law and courts. Then it says Hashem, Zubrikat Hashem. That teaches you can't curse Hashem's name. Elokim, it says Elokim. Zu avodat kachavim, tells you not allowed to serve avodah zarah. Don't make another type of god for you. Then it says in the pasuk Al ha'adam, Zu shfichat dam, it means don't murder. That's where it says shayfech dam ha'adam, right? So that's what it means. Adam means don't cause murder. Lamor, Zu begilu arayu. When it says in the word in the pasuk Torah, it says lamor, that's telling us stay away from forbidden relationship. Because it says lamor, where it says if a man sends his wife and he divorces her and she marries a different man, she can't come back to him, right? So cases of improper relationships. And it says lamor. So lamor by that pasuk also means that goyim are not allowed to have improper relationships. Mikol eitzagan, from every tree in the field, below gozel, don't steal, right? What you're allowed to have, you're allowed to have. What you're not allowed to have, don't have. Achot tochel, you could eat below aver min hachai, but not an aver min hachai. You can eat, but you can't eat a limb from a live animal. Tosfos has a question with this. Tosfos says this is a pasuk that Hashem said to Adam Arishon. Why is Hashem telling Adam Arishon about eating meat, the limb from a live animal? Adam Arishon is not allowed to eat any meat at all. Only Noach got it. But take a look at Tosfos Nun Vav Amud Bet, right? So we're the page that we're on the second Tosfos, the right column, right, the right margin, right outside the Gemara. Second Tosfos, and that we're going to say on Daf Nun Tet. The law Hutter law Adam Rishon Basar Lachila, that Adam Rishon is not allowed to eat any meat. So how could you say Hashem told him in the pasuk that he's not allowed to eat every minachai? Hainu, when is, this is the way Tosfos understands this. Hainu lehemit velechol. When did Hashem say to Adam Rishon you're not allowed to eat meat? Only to kill an animal and eat its meat. Shari. But if the animal does die on its own, Adam Rishon would have been allowed to eat the meat. Okay? Tosfos is making a distinction here. Most people don't talk about this distinction, but Tosfos makes this distinction. And he says Adam Rishon would be allowed to eat an animal that died on his own. But and therefore Hashem told him, that feel nafal me'alav aser. So if there's an animal that his limb fell off, he's running around in the jungle and he scraped his arm. He scraped his arm and his arm came flying off, and the other Rishon finds the arm, he can't eat it. That's Aver Minachai, because the animal's still alive, so you're not allowed to eat that Aver Minachai, because other Rishon could eat an animal that just dies on its own, according to Tosfos. We saw the Rambam seemed to not go with that at all. The Rambam said no, Adam Rishon got 6, and Noach got the 7. Okay, fine. Rabbi Yitzchak came to Bavel. Tana Ibcha. He said, I learned a little different. You said that Vaitzav means to make courts. I learned Vaitzav means don't do avodah zarah. And Elohim zu dinan. And the word Elohim, Hashem's name, means to make courts. Bishleim Elohim, when it says Elohim zu dinan, this means to make courts. It says v'nikra balabait Elohim. You bring the house. You bring the master of the house shall bring to the judge, right? Elohim here means judge. Elohim, right? Se'ela, Vaitzav avodah zarah. Where do you see where the word Vaitzav can mean avodah zarah? My mashma. Where do you see it? Rav Chizr Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi. Rav Chizr Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi. Chadaimer. We have a pasuk. It says the Jews they were quickly to make the egel hazav. Saru meher min haderech asher tzivitam asu lahem. Right? The one that I gave them to do, they quickly went away from. So it says tzivitam asu. Right? Tzivitam ve'itzav. They see the made avodah zarah, so he sees about avodah zarah. Chadaimer. Ashuk Ephraim, Mertzutz, Mishpat, Kihoel, Halach, Acharai, Tzav. They went after this avodah zarah, and Tzav is used in that pasuk. Okay, what's the difference between these two opinions? The one that brings the Egel Hazav and the one that brings this other one about Ephraim and the judgment, willingly walked after the command of the Avodah Zarah. You know what the case is? What happens if a guy makes an Avodah Zarah, so excited to make Avodah Zarah, then he finally makes it, but he doesn't worship it. He decides he doesn't want to worship it anymore. What happens? Do we say he's chayav because he made it, or do we say no, he didn't worship it? Lamanda Amar Asu. According to the pasuk that said Asu, you make mishat asiyas mechayev. He's chayav mitzvah from the minute he makes it. Lamanda Amar kihoel halach. But the second pasuk says he has to go after it. Ada azal batrei follow unless he goes and he actually serves it. Then he's chayav mitzvah. But if he just made it, he's not. That's the difference. Amar Rava umiikil Lamanda Amar. Can there be such a case? If a can it be a case that a guy made Avodah Zarah but didn't bow down to it, that he's chayav ad tani when we started on the Braita. If a beit din of Yisrael would kill a Jew for it, then a guy is also warned about it. In beit din Yisrael, if a Jew is not killed because of it, and Beinach Muzar land, then a guy is not warned about it. So the only time you kill a guy for Avodah Zarah is if something a Jew did, he would be killed. Then you can kill a guy for it. So what it coming to exclude? Doesn't it come to exclude? Doesn't it mean come to exclude a case of a guy who made Avodah Zarah and didn't bow down to it? Because if a Jew made Avodah Zarah and didn't bow down to it, then the Jew is not chayav mitah. So then the guy cannot be chayav mitah for that either. So that's the exclusion. So you can't tell me that the one who says, oh, the pasuk comes from Asu, you made, then chayav mitah. No, a guy cannot be killed for creating a desire because a Jew wouldn't be killed for creating a desire. Rather, loy lamuta gifuf benishu. It's coming to exclude the case of embracing and kissing an idol. And embracing and kissing an idol. The Israelite is not executed for doing so. Gemara says, one second, what does gifuf benushuk demai? Embracing and kissing, what type of idol is excluded? That a Jew doesn't get killed. If you say an idol for which it's usual manual to serve, if the way to serve that idol is to hug and kiss it, Barkatelu, then a Jew also will be killed for it if he kisses and hugs it, because that's the way to serve it. Rather, it means to exclude liability of a case where it's not the usual manner of service to serve that avodah zarah. It's not the way it is, and a Jew does that, then he will not be killed. If he went and kissed an avodah zarah, that's not its way to do it. And the guy would also not be warned for it. And so that's the case that it comes to exclude. So when a Jew can't get in trouble, that's where a guy can't get in trouble. It's about the case of kissing and hugging. But in the case of creating an avodah zarah, a guy could get in trouble for creating the avodah zarah, even where if a Jew who created it would not get that. Okay. All right. Any questions over time? All right, so we'll get up to here today. Bez Hashem, next week we will have share. We will continue. Good, and we'll continue mitzvahs of Bnei Noach next week. All right, Shavua Tov L'Kulam. Toda Rabba.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.